All right, ladies and gents, we are back for another episode of Legacy Dialogues. It's been about 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks since our last episode, and I want to keep them spaced out a little bit. I don't want to have them every single week. I want to do probably every 2 weeks. Sometimes I may have a couple back-to-back weeks, but I want to be able to have a little break to kind of get some other things done in some of these weeks. But today we have, and actually, I got the wrong info scrolling on the bottom for you guys. So let me remove that. Uh, but as I do so, the young lady that we have today, I met her via Facebook, and she was just in the space of, in which those of you who've actually seen that have seen the promotion, you see that she's in the space of growing an online business. Just looking at the title of our session of our episode today, she's in the phase of her life of running an online business and just looking to continue to scale that. But there's so much more to her than just her online business. And it's one of the things that I was having a conversation with her about the last time that we were on the phone. Because when we get to a point to where we can align the things that we really love with the things that we do, it tends to make success come a whole lot quicker. So, with that being said, I'm not going to hold us up for any longer. I will bring before you Miss Carla. Whoops. Carla Collins. How's it going?
I'm doing well.
I'm
How are
well.
you?
I'm well. I'm in South Mississippi, and for those who know, the weather down here is crazy. So, like, we were just sweating it up yesterday morning, yesterday afternoon, and now it's like jacket weather again. So, how's the weather up your way?
It's about minus 35 Celsius
All right.
today,
So, my
so
mathematician.
not super warm.
Nice, nice. So my mathematicians, please go into the chat and do a conversion for us. Minus 35 Celsius. What is that Fahrenheit for us? So as we wait for that calculation, so for those who do not know you, I've been knowing you for maybe I'll say 3, 4 months or so now. For those who don't know you, just kind of give us a little synopsis. Who is Carla Collins? Where are you from? What are some of the things that you're into, and like what direction are you looking to take life in right now?
Well, I'm from a small town in Alberta, born and raised. I really do just love country life
Yeah,
and the animals and taking care of them and just having the freedom to go outside and there's no one around and just kind of enjoy the peacefulness of it. Um, as far as like interests go, I have quite a few different things that I really enjoy, like gardening, um, herbal use, looking into herbology and just more of the natural original medicines
nice.
to raise my family with.
All right,
So
so let's kind of touch on that for a little bit. Like, where did that side of you come from? Are you a tree hugger that only wants the all natural? Because to a certain degree, I want to be, but it's kind of hard to be in today's society. Like, where did that side of you come from?
I would say like I just have always loved nature and always loved just being in natural spaces. Like when we go say camping, we always clean up
Mm,
the area and have it cleaner than when we came there. My grandmas, both of my grandparents, they had huge gardens and were farmers. So I think that stemmed from there a lot. And then the gardening aspect kind of skipped a generation. And I just thought it's probably a really good skill to keep alive and to show my children how to grow your own food and just how fun and yeah, just it's delicious. You taste foods that have full flavor, not just like some things that you get in the grocery store. So
yeah, that's true. Now, just on a personal note, um, how long did it take you? Because from what I've heard, you can get seeds and like try and start planting all natural, but it's still like the plant or the fruit or the vegetable or whatever that seed came from was tainted with some sort of something. Like how long did it take you guys to get it to where you can really tell that, okay, this is actually a different product than what we grab from the grocery stores?
I'd say sourcing like heirloom
Mm,
seeds and seeds that are maybe not completely genetically modified. Everything is to a certain point, so you really can't get away from it completely. But and then saving your own seeds, I think helps because they kind of get climatized to your area and they grow at an optimal uh, in an optimal
got it.
space.
So on that
Yeah.
note, and I know we're like nowhere on topic yet, but um,
No.
so I heard recently like you have to report and this may just be a United States thing. Like you have to report your seeds, and like the Department of Agriculture or somebody like keeps tabs on like everybody's seeds and such. Like is that something up there in Canada?
Not that I'm aware of. For mass, like when you're actually farming, it's a different scenario. But just gardening and growing things at that in that sense, I've not
Good.
heard of having to do
Great,
that.
because yeah, and I'm asking, I say personal reasons. I'm looking to start growing as much as possible of our own fruits and vegetables out back, and I want to make sure that I do it the right way. So I'm gonna have to take some of your expertise as I start that
Yeah.
process. So, so we heard a little bit about your story, about your come up, so to say. At what stage in life did you actually get into this whole online business space?
Kind of dabbled in it a little bit over the years and nothing really took off. Um, I think probably in the last year for sure, I made a decision to commit to the process and just learn what I needed to learn to be able to build a business this way.
Okay. Now, I know the answer to this question, but I know the audience may actually want to know what at what stage did what happen. So you're a stay-at-home mom, as you know we see in the title. How many kids you have?
So I have 3
Okay.
children, a 12-year-old daughter, 9 and 2-year-old son, so it's quite
Got it.
busy.
So where along that process that you began your business journey? Would you say it was after you've already had all your kids and you kind of had a routine going? So just kind of tell us what it was like getting into the online business space while also being that stay-at-home mom, because I can only imagine like all the tasks and responsibilities that you have to juggle with that.
It honestly was a bit of a transition, I will say that, because kids are so busy and they demand so much of your time. Trying to fit the schedules together at first was a bit of a challenge, but I think now everybody's kind of on the same kind of page to what to expect and what I need from them to help yeah, just free up some of the time. And my husband's home a lot, so that really does help. So he can help with the kids and
That's
keep them kind of entertained.
that's great because and I've shared this with you, but one of the things that can be a contributing factor to failure in business is not being on the same page with your significant other. So what was that conversation like when you all of a sudden went from just being a stay-at-home mom, doing things around the house, so on and so forth, to okay, I'm going to add this business aspect of my life to this? Like what was that conversation like with your husband, and like how was that transition in?
So we kind of both transitioned into our own businesses kind of at the same time. So you have to learn new skills and be able to be more adaptable in that sense. And we just both really grew together, and it was a mutual respect, like as far as what we needed from each other and support on either end. And yeah, and then online business looks a lot different than a traditional
Hmm.
business. So that just is just we came to a mutual understanding that it looks like maybe not what you would think it looks like, and
Now, how many
we
months
just
and or
went from there.
years in are you now?
Um, so about a year now,
Got it.
a year
So,
just now.
out of a year long being in business, really getting your feet wet, so to say, have there been, and you can keep it as, you know, you can share as little or as much as you desire. Have there been any times of friction where either you or him were like, I don't know if this is going to work? It just seems like we're putting in so much, not getting out as much as we want. Like, has there ever been a time like that? And how did you navigate through that as a couple?
So I will say yes, there have been times like that because honestly, you have to meet with your clients at times that are more convenient for them, really. So that can sometimes take away from time with the family or in the evening when we want to do things together. But just realizing that there is a bit of give and take there, like it won't always be like this, but when you are building, you kind of have to prioritize your customers and clients, and even team builders that are business partners alongside you. You have to prioritize that a little bit differently in the beginning when you're building.
Yeah. And I'm glad you share that because it's part of what I mention oftentimes whenever I give trainings is understanding the necessity of being off balance on purpose during certain segments of life. Whereas if you just sometimes it'll go over people's head whenever I mention that. So I'll go back to school. All of us went through grade school where there were periods where we couldn't go and play sports or do our extracurricular leisurely activity as much as we want because we had to study for this big exam that's coming up. So we were intentionally being off balance, putting more time into our study during that phase because there was something that we had to accomplish at that specific stage in life. And it's the same thing in business. Whereas if you don't articulate what's going on in your business life with your partner, they can make assumptions. She is not giving me as much affection as she used to. What's going on? Is there someone else? Is there something that is becoming more important to her? But having that conversation, hey, babe, I've got this, that, and the third coming up. I'm trying to make sure I hit this milestone in my work. So I may be a little more busy between these hours and these hours. When you communicate that, consistently, it tends to make the process a whole lot easier from what I've seen. So there's a whole lot of different types of online businesses. There's lots of people out here that are just jumping on the hottest new crave, the things that they're saying it's going to make you a millionaire in X number of months or years. And then there's those online businesses that people get involved in and they know this is a long game. I really have to learn the foundations and get myself to a certain place before I start to really see returns. So when you first stepped into the home-based business or the online business space, what was your first venture, so to say, and is that what you're still involved in? If not, what are you currently involved in? What does that look like for you?
So we did jump into not jump in, but made the decision to start online business with one company, and just the dynamics of that, it didn't really work out like we thought it would. Um, and then I came across actually ACN by like a cold call, and then I've just it I went over the business model, and it just like that made sense to be able to build a business that was more sustainable, I think. And so I'm going to say that was last July that I did kind of turn gears to build with
Got it.
ACN. But
So, for those who are unacquainted, that aren't familiar, what is ACN, and what do you guys do? What do you offer?
So it is started as a telecommunications company, and we offer essential services, basically um, services that people use every day. Like we get these monthly bills that come in residually, basically, and yeah, we offer services as far as being able to do free quotes. I offer free quotes to look at your bills to see where there are savings involved. And then if you're interested in being able to actually have your own services for free, there's that option too. And I think for some people, it's such a far out concept that like you can actually get these benefits from a company like that is yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
and
different and
it's definitely different. I recently moved August of last year, and in my mind, based off of moving so many times in my past, me living here, I'm shut off to this provider, that provider, this provider. When it comes to power, I don't have any choice. I don't have any say. I have to go with this provider. When it comes to my water, I don't have any say. It has to go. So you're saying you guys give options, whereas people aren't stuck just based off of what is offered in their geographical location, right?
like so certain states and provinces have their own laws like in even in Canada like not all of the services are offered and it is kind of a bit of a geographical um, issue sort of I guess to say that as long as we kind of know where you are located then I can look and see what options are available from there.
Perfect. But ultimately, it's still more options than we have before. Potentially more options before we connect with you guys. I know
Yeah.
I was introduced to ACN just of its existence, not as if it was offered to me or pitched to me. It was mentioned to me based off of a business partner who was part of the company, probably about 16 years ago. Um, yeah, way back when. And he was very successful with the company. And I just never really paid any attention to it. And it was only last year, actually, that people started to pop up on my radar who were a part of the company. I'm like, hey, I know somebody who used to be with that company. Now, he mentioned the telecommunication offerings, which I guess that was the core of things back in his day,
Mhm.
working with the company. But um, after listening to some of the updates, there's so much more that you guys offer now outside of just telecommunication and utility services and such. There's one specific product or service, however you want to put it, that you guys offer. When ACN was re-brought to my attention, this was the thing that really grabbed my attention, and it's a health related service. Um, I know for those who may be watching this on replay, some of you who may be popping in live, know that for the longest, I've been working with lots of entrepreneurs. And one of the things that you see when an entrepreneur starts to kind of catch momentum and actually make consistent money in their business, but they have a full-time job, oftentimes they're kind of timid to let go of that full-time job because they have the medical benefits. So can you speak to what you guys offer when it comes to the health aspect of things, and like what type of people could it benefit?
Yeah, so the healthcare is for the United States and it is an alternative to a traditional health insurance.
Okay,
And it is beneficial for individuals, for families, and for small
got
businesses,
it.
entrepreneurs included.
Nice. Now, are there certain types of people that are more likely to qualify, that it's more beneficial for, or is it pretty much the same across the board, similar to how um, I don't even know what to even try to compare it to. But would you say there's certain types of people that should look into you guys' health option more so than other people, or like what would you say to that?
I'd say as far as that goes, like if you are a really healthy person and like into actually keeping up with your body's needs and things like that, and just more health conscious, I think it would be
Hmm.
beneficial to look into. They have their own criteria as far as like pre-existing conditions and stuff like that, but it's something that you the company will like contacts them and goes over those kind of stipulations. But yeah,
Got it. Okay. Good deal. Yeah. So you wouldn't necessarily be the person going through the nitty gritty, the meat and potatoes. You have a representative that goes through all that good stuff, right?
yeah. So that's the kind of nice thing is I just kind of connect you with the company, and then a professional from their company phones you and asks those questions and goes through all that information.
Perfect. And I'm glad you mentioned that because oftentimes people may get timid and say, "Well, I don't know about life or health insurance, and I want to really learn about it. So this probably won't be a good fit for me." Well, you don't have to learn about it. You're pretty much like the middleman, so to say, the middlewoman, the referral source. So that makes a lot of sense. So let's kind of bring it back to you. Let's kind of bring it back to Carla. So usually, when we initially launch or start any type of business, any type of organization, group, usually there's a lot of excitement that's built up around it. We see a vision, we see, okay, I can do this, that, or the third with this opportunity. Like, what were those initial feelings for you, and what were some of the things you were visualizing when you first started? We'll say specifically with ACN.
I think part of that vision was that I'm actually building basically like a legacy that I can pass on to my children. Like it's not something that just you build and it stops. And you like if you stop working, it stops working. Like it's something that you can really build for your future and for your kids' future.
Got it, got it.
So I think that was really part of the initial excitement and the long-term vision.
Got you. So another thing that I know about many online companies is usually they throw like regional um, and sometimes national conferences, webinars, so on and so forth. Have you been able to take part in any of those since you've been with ACN?
Yes, so there's been events in our province between two different cities, and I've been able to attend those, as well as be a part of the online Zooms that we do have.
Perfect, perfect.
And yeah,
So usually a lot of energy and excitement is built up around
mhm.
those events. So, can you speak to like your activity between events and then your activity immediately thereafter? Like, is it different? Are you pretty consistent across the board? Kind of speak to that if you don't mind.
I would say that the in-person events are probably one of the most valuable parts of being a part of the business because you get to be around people that are where you want to be one day. You get to talk with them, converse, ask questions, and really just take in like real advice that they have to offer.
Got it. And what is one thing, and this is me kind of putting on my coach hat, is one thing
Yeah.
to take on the advice. Can you share with the audience, like, what's at least one thing that you've taken from these events, and when you got back home, you actually applied and started to see some results, or you apply and realize, you know what, this doesn't work for me. Maybe I need to do it differently. Like, what's one thing at least you've been able to apply?
I think one main thing that does stand out is that I've you think, oh, like this knowledge is powerful, but the powerful part is when you actually put it into
Hmm.
action and really do follow what they say or advise you to do. So I'd say that's like the probably the biggest thing
Give me one. Give me
as
one
far
thing
as
that you have done, and I know you might have to dig a little bit. And as you think about it, I just kind of want to mention, what you just said, like the actual application.
Mhm.
We get a hit of dopamine just simply by getting the information, by getting the advice. We get that hit of dopamine, and it gives us that false sense of accomplishment, that false sense of I'm doing something. We get it, and then typically what happens is we're, on cloud nine during the event. Immediately thereafter, we have these high and lofty things that we're going to go out there and we're going to kill it with, but then life hits us in the face, and that advice, that insight that we're going to implement is put over here on the shelf while we deal with life. And then oftentimes we don't come back to it, or when we do come back to it, our energy isn't the same, our emotions aren't the same. Like, have you run into just that low spot where you're like, I've just been pushing, and it's like I just hit a brick wall. Not that you said I throw in the towel, but I hit a brick wall and I've got to figure something out. Have you had that experience yet? And if so, what did you do to kind of get out of that space?
I can say yes, I have, and it's really important in this journey per se to have the commitment there. So when you do come into places like that where you feel like you want to throw in the towel, is to remember though that you did make this commitment and to get back on track. It's important, I believe, to have coaches and people to work with just to kind of keep you in check as far as the goals you made and where you're going. And it is okay to uh, pivot per se and take it a different direction. So doing something that's different, I'd say maybe that's one of the things that has been taken away from some of the events is I've been able to define how I want to be able to build my online business and the support and community behind that
Yeah, and
to build what I need.
yeah, and I was gonna say I think, but I know, that's the importance of not only going to an event, but going consistently to events, plural, attending events online. Is you may at one event get information from this one specific person, and you're like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to incorporate this, but you realize that's just not my vibe. That really doesn't align with who I am. But then you continue to go to events, listen to webinars, and attend these virtual conferences, and slowly but surely, it's kind of like not kind of like, it actually is. It's self-education. Whereas in traditional education, you go to school, they tell you you only have these two teachers that are going to teach you this. And if you don't like the way they teach you that, like, too bad. They're the only ones there. Whereas when you're in this space, you can go to all these different events. You have all these people who've been successful in the space that you've been in. You can take a little bit of this person's direction, a little bit of this person's way of doing things, and kind of piece them all together to make who you are. Put your own personality into it and figure out your own direction. And that's one of the things that I love to pour into individuals is don't look at someone else's success and think that if I just copy everything that that person did, I'm going to become successful like them, because you have no idea how many kids they have that they're running behind. You have no idea how many animals that they may be running behind. You have no idea what type of relationship support and or lack thereof support that they may have. So you always want to, and it's the same thing. And I don't want to take this into a religious direction, but I believe the same when it comes to religion. If you're a Christian, so to say, you don't want to only listen to one religious preacher or pastor or whatever. have one maybe that as a leader of your church, but learn from various different spaces, because different perspectives can help you develop who you truly are and what your relationship to whatever space that is truly is meant to be. So on that note, this is the second Monday of February. So we're already in the second month. Now we're in the second week of the second month of February, or of 2025. What is one major goal? And I'm gonna ask you for three. So one business related when it comes to ACN, one financial, which it can tie into these animations. The second one is let me put my fingers down. The second one is
Yeah.
is financial. So tying your business together with your finances, but like give me a business goal, a financial goal, and then tie in a personal goal. I know you have things there at home that you may be wanting to accomplish before the end of the year. So what are, those three major things that you're looking at accomplishing, so that once I bring you back on live with me in December, we can say check, check, check.
Yeah. Um, as far as the business goal, I think it would be to build, just keep building my community and building that support that I think, like you were mentioning, that we each need individual, yeah, individual support really. Like so many different areas come into play when you start ventures like this, and you don't necessarily maybe know offhand at first what you actually need, and it's important, I believe, to have that community support. So I do have like the beginnings of a community that I would like to build, and to see that just, yeah, flourish and feel the vision that I have for it, I think would just be um, one main goal for business wise, and to help my team members, support them in the needs that they have, um, and just, yeah, develop real the business aspect of
Hmm.
partnership.
Got it, got it, got it. Now, we haven't really gone into it, and it's kind of like taking us back towards the beginning, and we'll get back to where we are.
Mhm.
But on the personal side of things, I have checked out your Facebook here and there, and I see that you guys have a number of animals, and you even mentioned it in your bio. So, on the personal side of things, would any of your goals tie into getting some more animals, getting rid of some animals, training your animals to do something, training your kids to do something with the animals? Kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so my daughter, she kind of inspired a lot of the bigger animal side of that, being in the 4-H club that she's involved in. And so instead of having just her one steer this year for her 4-H club, we have a companion, and so that has doubled the amount of responsibility for that. And then her with her donkey there, I think the one goal is to maybe have her bred this year,
Nice.
and she can start that whole other journey into, the breeding, and then having a little foal running around. And
All right.
because she purchased it with her own money
Really.
too, and kind of, yeah, so bring that aspect in to be able to, recoup her investment and things like that.
Beautiful. Now, we're going to rewind this section just a little bit for those of us who are not very literate when it comes to animals and the names of animals. So, what types of animals do you have? And, like, what are those breakdowns in, like, I guess the gender or the age of the animal?
Yeah. So for 4-H, beef, so cattle, the steers are Um, I guess they're males that have been
Okay.
castrated, and they are raised for showing and grooming and being able to sell for
Got
beef
it.
in the long run, really. And then the donkey, well, she's a female, so she's a Jenny, and yeah, it's been really interesting having a donkey with their personalities and things like that. It's been a learning curve, but they're all really actually quite low maintenance and easy to take care of. And that's what we have for the larger critters, and then I have chickens and some ducks and just bunnies that have been basically given to us that just kinda hang out and
Nice. Nice, nice, nice.
yeah.
Now, when I was little, and I'm still the same way, I get attached to animals. So, you personally, like, what is that, or throughout your years of handling animals, what has it been like getting attached, but then, for instance, like a steer, knowing that it's going to be dinner someday, like
Mhm.
how do you manage that? Or are you the type that gets attached? Or like, what is your process of letting go of that attachment?
It's really hard not to get attached to animals that you name and you have that bond with, but in the whole picture of how it works and the values that you're instilling in your children, they're learning how to really well take really good care of these animals and raise them properly, as far as feeding them properly, to be able to sell them. I'm not going to say that it's an easy process. Like, you do get attached, but the end goal is like that is just what they're there for, and you have that kind of that respect for them, and you're grateful for the process, I guess. And yeah, it's there's not an easy part about it for
Yeah,
sure.
I can only imagine. I love, love, love animals, and like I got friends that love to go hunting. I'm like, I can't hunt because I don't want to kill it. Now I'll eat it if you do all the other stuff, but yeah. So just in asking that, I would assume some of the mindset that it takes to nurture an animal, knowing that it's going to serve a different purpose in the long run. I would say some of that personality can kind of transition to business, whereas there's certain energy and things that you have to put in your teammates, the people who you're working with, that maybe in the long run you're not going to have that same relationship with them, but it's going to blossom into something else that's going to benefit you and or them at a different level. Would you say you've seen any type of like leadership or any type of specific transferable skills that you've taken from being that caregiver when it comes to animals to somewhat being a caregiver of your team as you're nurturing them throughout their business growth?
I would say there definitely is a lot of correlation there, even from being a parent, a mom, to be more
Hmm.
exact. But there are definitely skills and wisdom that you take from that and transfer it over because you just like raising children, you know that someday they're going to leave your home and go out into the world. So, yeah, you are nurturing and building for ultimately a larger purpose.
Definitely. Um, yeah, and I'm glad that you share that, specifically that last statement. You're building for, a greater, a bigger, a different purpose, a larger purpose. And I feel like, I'm not even say I feel like that's one of the things that when I go into working with someone, specifically someone that is wanting to start a business or wanting to get into the entrepreneurship space, they're not already in there trying to figure it out. They just want to get in. Far more often than not, you see people that see someone else's result who is an entrepreneur and they say, I want to be an entrepreneur to have that, to experience that. Whereas I aim to pull them back. No, like, what is the problem in the world that you're looking to fulfill? Like, what are you looking to transform? Who are you looking to impact? Because if you don't have someone outside of your internal desires that you are looking to impact, I really don't want to work with you, because it's going to be so easy for you to throw in the towel. When it's all about you, it's so easy to give up. But when you have a different purpose and doing what you do, oftentimes it pulls you to continue to do what you're doing, instead of having to push you to do it when there's really nothing in front of you that's, pulling you. So I love that you mentioned that, because it just goes to show, if you look at your parenting life, you have responsibility over your kids. That pulls you to be a great mother. When it comes to the animals, certain responsibilities that pull you to be a great, great caregiver for them. And then in the business space, it's the same thing. You have people who are depending on you to show them the ropes, to show them, okay, this is where I started, but this is where I'm looking to go. Like, what do I do in all this area over here? What if this happens? They're waiting for you to pull them back up. This is what you do when that happens. So it just goes to show, there's a certain alignment that you have, which kind of falls into all these different areas of your life. Now, this, and you kind of answered it, but I want to be a little more specific. And this is for the people who are listening as well. For those of you who maybe you're a stay at home mom and you're running a business, or just maybe you're running a business in general, and you don't necessarily have a specific destination. So, what I'm asking you now is there a certain number that once you cross this threshold, okay, I've really made a difference in the future of my family? Not to say I have to hit, $1 million or something astronomical, but if I hit this amount on a monthly basis, I know that I've really done my role, between me and my husband, me and my partner, and giving this family the lease on life that we desire. And I ask that you don't have to give the specific number, but I ask that because it's easy for us to say I want to be successful, but then successful for one person is making a couple extra $100. Successful for another person, I got to make at least $1,000 a week. Another person, I got to get to the 5 figures per week. So, do you have a number, and kind of what happens when you feel yourself not going as consistently towards that number? And what's something that you put in place to kind of get you back going in the right direction? So, first off, do you have a specific number in mind?
I would say yes, I do. Yeah,
So let's say
and
let's say things start to kind of just waver, and you see your weekly paycheck, however often you're paid, just dwindle and dwindle, pop up, dwindle, dwindle, dwindle. Like, what is something that you put in place to make sure that you do what's necessary to get back going in the right direction towards that number?
I'd say just really having a solid why and a solid vision to where you do want to be. And it did take some time for me to define like what success looks for myself, but it's the work that you do have to do. Like you can't, like you're saying, you can't just like really throw numbers out there. There's a lot of work behind that on a personal level, um, that you have to be willing to do, and really, yeah, just be committed not to quit on yourself. And when you look at your family, and I think I heard you, I'm sure I heard you say this, like your family is there, and if you quit, like you're really quitting on them. So
Yeah,
I think that comes into play.
definitely. And I use the analogy of hopping on an airplane, and your business is the airplane. the destination is, that number that you want to hit, or that life that you want to create for your family. Um, the pilot is, those leaders who have taken people to that destination before. Really choosing the proper pilot. You don't get on that airplane, or you don't really take off in that airplane until you know the destination. So when you start a business, knowing, okay, what is the vision? Now, oftentimes people hear mission statement, vision statement. They don't really know the difference. They don't really know the mission is. What am I doing on a day-to-day basis? What am I doing? What is the work that I'm bringing to the marketplace on a day-to-day? That's my mission. My vision is, what is life going to look like when I'm successful and doing that work, when I have helped the number of people accomplish what I'm looking to help the number of people accomplish. That's the vision. So that's the destination. What is your life going to look like when you get to the destination using your business? Now, you're not going to get on a plane and just kind of, well, we're going east, probably a couple thousand miles. But yeah, that's where we're going. No, you know exactly where you're going, and you're likely not going to sit there in comfort if that pilot doesn't really know how to get there. So when it comes to business, understanding who's leading me, do they actually know where I'm ultimately trying to get to? Because we can sit here all day long and throw out, non-tangible goals and say, well, I want to be able to feel better. I want to be healthier. I want to drink more water. I want to make more money. I can give you a cup of water. Okay, check that goal off. I want to feel better. I can make you laugh. Okay, check that goal off. I want to make more money. Here's $1. Check that goal off. So being specific in where you want to go, it seems like you have something that your mind is set on, specifically as it pertains to your family, the things that you want to be able to add to the table. Just kind of help out with what your husband is already doing, and also just being, your own woman, and being able to create, for yourself, and to see that you can do certain things. I was reading your bio, and I forget the specific wording, but something to where, like, you have, I'm trying to think the specific wording, but you've put yourself in the position to have the opportunity to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Whereas too many people see doing more, starting a business. Well, I have to bring this to the table. I have to. No, you have the opportunity to be able to contribute, to be able to have this, that, and the third, pushing your family in the direction you want to go in. So, let's say I was someone that I'm tired of paying exorbitant costs. I'm looking at what's going on in politics, people talking crazy left and right, but my bills are still going higher and higher, and I'm still having to pay more than I feel like I need to be paying. What or how can I reach out to someone like yourself, or you specifically, to get an assessment or get some sort of help on evaluating how you may be able to help me?
Just even over Facebook or like messaging. I think I have my contact information all up on my page
Hmm.
on Instagram. Like, just reach out and ask questions. Like, that's all you really have to do
Perfect. So
to find out.
now, most
Yeah.
people, most responsible people, at least, kind of have an idea of how much they spend on a monthly basis in certain areas. Do you want them to have specific information in front of them, or can they just kind of bring whatever they can remember, or like what will make it to where you can be more efficient in helping them on their first consultation, so to say?
Yeah, I say probably the best would be like a tell me where you're located, the area, and we can kind of go from there. And just to have your actual specific bills handy that you want to be evaluated.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, that sounds great. Now, before we get ready to close out, Do you have, and you should be able to do it on your end. If not, then I'll try and type it out on my end. Do you have like a place where people can go and kind of take a look at what you do, kind of see a little bit of your work? Would you just say check out your social media channels, or like where would you tell someone to go to kind of get an idea of what you offer before they reach out?
I haven't built a whole lot on social media yet, but it'd be my personal page and then just to reach out by a private message, really. At this point, I do have a business page that I am starting to get rolling. Um, so,
Perfect.
but not, there's not a whole lot of information on that social media page. But then again, I do have a link on my pages or on Instagram for sure for my actual
Got it.
website.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So what we'll
Yeah.
do is I'll make sure that for those who are watching on Facebook, we can drop it in the updated description of this video, and/or in the comment section, and we'll put in the description section on YouTube as well, how people can reach out to you. So, any closing remarks before we call it? What time is it? Is it still morning? Is it afternoon? I think it's afternoon time now. Um, before we call it an afternoon,
Afternoon for you.
definitely. So, any closing remarks, and
Um,
specifically for stay-at-home moms?
so I just think what kind of came to mind was consistency in the mundane. You know, it applies to daily life with kids and your business. Really, you can't jump into something and expect to get more than what you put into it. And it is the consistent, everyday tasks that will bring you the success that you're looking for,
That's
or by your own definition.
yeah, true. That consistency in the mundane, like that statement in and of itself, like that's like everything. That sums up success in almost anything. You have to be consistent in the
Yeah,
thing that you probably don't want to be doing, but doing it consistently over time will eventually somewhat make it second nature, to where you don't even have to think, and it happens, and it kind of frees you up to be able to focus on other things because you took the time to be consistent in the mundane. So actually, I need to write that down. I might have to tag that in the description of like the quote of the episode: consistency in the
there we
mundane.
go.
Consistency. Look, drop my pen. All right. So off that note, thank you, Carla, for coming live with me. I know you've been working on, more consistently popping up on your social media as well. I definitely look forward to seeing more of you. And obviously, between you and I, we're going to be working on some things as well. But keep doing what you're doing. Keep being consistent in the mundane. Keep being an example for those kids. One of the things that we have to be so much more cognizant of in today's day. I mean, you don't have too much of an issue with it because you're in more of a rural area, I guess. But society will take our kids and mold them into whatever society wants to mold them into if we're not actively and intentionally parenting them with intention. So keep doing what you're doing. From what I see, you're doing a great job. I'm sure one of these days I'll be able to kind of have maybe jump onto a Zoom with your husband as well. But I love what you guys are doing. Keep doing what you're doing, and we look forward to seeing you here again.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and I really do appreciate your
My
time.
pleasure, my pleasure. So I'm going to put you backstage real quick, and I'm going to close out the show. Then I'll come back and close out with you. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. So that's one for the books. Please feel free to reach out to Carla. Um, Carla is a wonderful soul. Just speaking with her on a regular basis, I just sometimes tell myself, man, I wish there were more people like her in the world. She is just so pure at heart. But at the same time, she's really out here trying to help people transform their life in a couple of different ways, using her company, ACN, when it comes to the services, but also using herself as an example of leadership. So definitely feel free to reach out to her if you need me to get you her information before I update the content here on these social platforms. Reach out to me directly. She's in Canada. That's the northeastern part, no, northwestern part of Canada. So I think she's in Mountain Time, or maybe Pacific Time. I think she's in Mountain Time. Anyways, definitely feel free to reach out. We'll be back here tomorrow. I want to say the same time. If not the same time, maybe 30 minutes earlier. Where nope, I take that back. Not tomorrow, Wednesday. We'll be back Wednesday around the same time. Pay attention to the social media. I'll be promoting. But guys, just remember, never stay stuck for longer than you need to stay stuck. If you need something, open your mouth, let it be known. You never know when the help is right there waiting for you, but they just don't know because you didn't open your mouth. If you have value, you can help change someone else's life. Open your mouth, let it be known. You never know when the person who needs exactly what you have is standing right before you. And understand that what you start to do today, the decisions that you make today, the choices that you make, and the actions that you start to implement will eventually be part of what's known as your legacy. And we bring these dialogues to you to help you get new information to put into your life to implement and start to create the legacy that you desire. Off that note, we're out. Much love. See you next time.